Hello there, my name's Berti. I'm responsible for crank drive construction and development here at M GmbH. Here we can see our S58 engine in our prototype workshop. The engine here is not in the position it would be in the car, but tilted to one side to facilitate access to the individual components.
Zugänglichkeit zu den einzelnen Bauteilen. Ich möchte euch heute was
Today I'd like to tell you something about the parts hidden in the engine, the ones you don't see at first glance.
ersten Blick sieht.
Here we have the crankshaft of the S58 engine.
Kurbelwelle des S58 Motors. Hier habe ich euch einen Kolben mitgebracht.
I've brought along a piston, and these are our high-rev conrods.
Drehzahlfesten Pleuel. Hier haben wir das Herzstück.
Here we have the centerpiece of the S58 crank drive, the crankshaft. We're looking at an inline six-cylinder crankshaft with the classical 120-degree offset. The crankshaft is our lightweight crankshaft. At 19.4 kilos, very, very light for an inline six-cylinder shaft.
Wir verwenden hier
Here we use chrome molybdenum heat-treatable steel, which is further hardened during the later stages of production.
gehärtet wird. Diese Welle
This shaft has a very high torsion strength and a very high resistance to wear.
Festigkeit, was vor allem für Motorsportanwendungen
What's especially interesting for motorsports use is, of course, the low moment of inertia. That's beneficial for the engine's high rev nature.
des Motors. Hier seht ihr die Hubzapfen.
Here you can see the crank pins of the crankshaft, on which the big end bearings and conrods are mounted.
Montiert. Hier ist das Grundlager.
These are the main bearings,
Kurbelwelle. Dort
the main bearing crank pin of the crankshaft. This is where the main bearings are mounted.
ballig.
Pins are ground spherically, in other words, they have a slightly rounded form. This allows the bearings to run more smoothly and is an important feature for high-revving engines.
Wichtiges Feature. Hier seht ihr noch die Ölversorgung.
Here you can see the oil supply holes in the crankshaft. The oil comes from the crankcase via the main bearings, via these tap holes, up to the crank pins, and then lubricates the big end bearing.
Hier seht ihr noch die Wuchtbohrungen.
Here you can see the balancing drill holes in the counterbalances of the crankshaft. The counterbalances are completely machined, which means that we need relatively few balancing holes on the shaft.
Wir sehen hier den Schmiedekolben.
Here we see the forged piston of the S58. This piston is especially light and robust and suitable for our high revs and gas pressure demands.
Forderungen geeignet. Der Kolben
The piston has a graphite coating on the piston skirt. This is necessary because our crankcase has an LDS coating on the cylinder bore, and that is the ideal friction partner.
alle Reibpartner dafür. Wir sehen hier die vier
Here are the 4 valve seat pockets for the inlet and outlet valves.
die Kolbenringe,
The piston rings,
Topring.
top ring, Napier ring, and oil scraper ring.
Hier ist noch der Kolbenbolzen.
This is where the piston pin is hidden.
Hier
It's a DLC-coated piston pin. This pin, or rather the DLC coating, is necessary because we have a sleeveless conrod small end, and that means steel and steel don't work as friction partners. That's why we have a diamond-like layer of carbon on it.
Hier sehen wir unser
Here we see our high-rev conrod for the S58. This conrod is made from special crack steel, and here we see the sleeveless conrod small end.
Hochauge. Das wird mit einem
This is manufactured using a special form drilling technique in order to transfer the high gas and inertia forces to the piston ring.
zu übertragen. Hier ist das große
Here you can see the conrod big end.
gekreckt. Das heißt,
The conrod is cracked here, it's broken, and then it could be mounted in a bearing here with the upper and lower big end bearing shell and bolted together again on the crank pins.
hier seht
Here you can see a part that's been tested.
ihr hochdynamischen
It's gone through our highly dynamic endurance test, and you can see that the cracked surface isn't visible.
die Crackfläche nicht sieht.
If we pull on it, then it separates.
Dann geht's auseinander.
And here we're looking at the two halves, the cracked surfaces. It's a very rough, bumpy surface.
Das ist eine sehr raue, gebirgige Oberfläche, das ist auch so gewünscht.
That's the way we want it, because when we put the conrod together again, it's a bit difficult, that's it, you can see that the crack disappears again.
Sieht man wieder, dass der Spalt wieder so gut wie verschwindet.
When it's mounted, you don't see anything anymore.
Wie ihr wisst,
As you know, we also develop our components for racetrack suitability.
die Bauteile werden in
They are tested in our normal M vehicles in Miramas and on the Nürburgring,
erprobt. Jetzt kommen die Bauteile aber auch tatsächlich
and now the components are being used in a real race.
im M4 GT3.
In the M4 GT3, the crank drive you see here will be used in the 24 hours of Le Mans.
An den Start gehen.